Hey everyone, welcome back to the warm-up. My name is Kyle Wood, and this is a show for fitness professionals, trainers, group fitness trainers, just a way to help you get your mindset in the right way before you start your day or your week. So one thing I've learned 15 years plus of business is that how I feel often directly relates to how much work I can get done and how good that work is. If I'm feeling tired, down, stewing about something, it's going to affect the way that I can learn, that I can show up for my clients, or show up for my family. So learning how to manage this stuff, I think, is one of the most important things to being successful and sticking with this for a long time. And how you feel and feelings is actually what we're going to talk about today. I hesitated sharing this because it's not like my best moment as a trainer. It was something that was really challenging at the time. But I thought I will share this as an episode, not because I think it'll apply to all of you, but because there might be one or two of you out there who are going through something similar, and this might really help. Anyway, let's get on with the show. So let's go back. Let's go back in time to young Kyle training people in the park. At the time I was running 2 classes per day, one in the morning, one in the evening. And actually, I think at this point I might have been doing 4 classes, so like 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening. Regardless, one of our evening class times, it was when I was doing 2, because it was I feel like I'm that cliche thing in the movie where it's the old guy and he's like, it was 1972, 1971, it's like, just get on with the story. So I was training people in the park, and I had set up 2 classes in the evening, so we're trying to now fill 2 different time slots. But my feeling was, it's like I was running hour classes before. I switched to 45 minutes. So it was only about another half an hour I was having to spend at the park because all the equipment was set up. And if I could even just get like a few more clients, that was going to make a big difference at the end of the month. So we're trying to fill 2 different classes. We had this earlier time slot, and we had a group of people from a local business that was like walking distance from the park who wanted to all sign up and do that 5, sort of the one that started between 5 and 6, because they could just come straight from work. So, and it was 5 people. 5 people wanted to join this class that we just started. So that was amazing. So I was like, yes, please sign up. And I had 8 in the class total. So I had 3 couple people. I think one person had moved to an earlier time. We had a couple of new people. It was a fairly new group of clients. And we got started, and I remember the first session, there was one person who came from this local business who just complained the whole way throughout. And not just like, clients complain and we get like a sadistic like thrill from it. We smile. It wasn't like that. It was just like outright like, I'm not going to do that. What are you doing? And I was just like, what is this person's problem? And I was kind of like, okay, that was a bit weird, but maybe she'll get into it. She knows other people in the class, so maybe once she gets into it, she'll be all right. But that wasn't the case. The second session, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. Why are we doing this? What's the point of this? Like, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. This is dumb. And I could just feel like the energy of the group just over the 45 minutes would just go down, 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 down. Like I was feeling it. I was struggling to stay smiling and keep the energy up and keep the vibe up. And it was also a bit like, I think I hoped, like, she obviously hates this. Why does she keep coming? But she kept coming for the full 6 weeks. So she came to 12 sessions. I don't think from memory she missed a session. And yeah, I dreaded those sessions. The session after was great. There were like great people, so it was kind of good I had that second one. But maybe it wasn't good in a way, because then by the time I would leave the park, the feeling wasn't as strong, and I was kind of like, okay. But yeah, I do remember like coming in the evenings running that first session was really hard work. And just watching how it affected everyone else in the group as well. And it was it was kind of her, and then she would kind of set off one of her other co-workers who would kind of like get in it as well. So then you've got these like two people who are kind of really bringing the mood down. So I decided, I didn't end up doing anything about it. There's a part of me that really wanted to pull her aside or give her a call or send her a message. But, I was in my early 20s here, having conversations with people like that might lead to conflict, or that were like hard conversations, was definitely not in my wheelhouse. I'd never been prepared for anything like that in my life. So I just didn't end up doing it. And I was like, we'll just get to the end. We'll just tough it out. And we finished the 6 weeks, put out enrollment for the next 6 weeks. Not one single person from that 8 signed up to the bootcamp again. Every other time slot, signed up, boosted, fantastic. But that one time slot just killed the time slot. Like, obviously everyone else in the class had been having a miserable time. I had been so caught up in how she was making me feel and how hard it was for me that I probably didn't really think too much about what impact that was having for other clients and what they were going through. So luckily, it must have been spring or autumn. We were doing plenty of marketing in the background, getting out in the community, things like that, because we were trying to grow these new time slots. And amazingly, 8 new people signed up for the next. So overall, didn't cause an issue. But what if I had addressed that, and even if this one client had left, or if I'd even fired her, which I'll talk about now in hindsight, how I would have tried to manage her. What if that had happened and, everyone else had signed up? I would have had like 15 people in a class. That's like thousands of dollars there, potentially. There was a couple of clients in that class who left, who did come back later. That's the power of newsletters. I hope to talk about that more on the podcast, like newsletters and keeping in touch with clients, to bring people back and keep that relationship going. So I did end up getting a couple of those clients back, but yeah, that was a real blow. And it was a real eye-opener because I kind of thought, I'll just bury my head in the sand on this, not do anything, and the problem will kind of go away. And I guess it did, but it was quite damaging to the bootcamp in the process. Luckily, she wasn't coming to my 6 a.m. class, which had like 20 people in it, because that would have really hurt. So so let's talk about, how do you manage clients like this? Like, you might have a client with something a little bit different, and I am going to talk about another client who I did address the problem with, and we had a kind of good result, and how I managed that. But with this client, like, in hindsight, and obviously now older, having gone through more experiences in life and feeling more comfortable to maybe have that hard conversation, I would have addressed it with her. I would have asked her. It was difficult because I had another class straight after, so I couldn't just say, hey, can we have a chat after class or something like that. And I think Kyle at the time, if I called her on the phone or something like that, I would have been like, what's your problem? You're bringing everyone down. But now, knowing what I know, I think what I would have said is, hey, can we catch up? Can I give you a call on maybe one of the nights that we didn't have boot camp, and just be like, hey, what are you wanting to get out of boot camp? Like, you seem like you're not enjoying the classes. Is there anything I can do to make the classes better? And when we come at people like that with curiosity, it stops them from it diffuses some of their defensiveness. So I just came to her and said, hey, look, which was also valid, your behavior is not okay in these classes. Or even, hey, like, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to stop coming to classes. Then, of course, she's just going to be defensive straight away. But if I'd come to her and said, hey, like, what do you, like, she signed up for a reason. She kept coming to the classes for a reason. Even though she seemed to be miserable, which is dragging everyone down, she seemed, there was some reason that she would come. Maybe it was just peer pressure from the rest of the people in the group, I don't know. But yeah, just like, hey, what's going on? Like, why are you here? And by finding that out, like, maybe she's like, oh, I'm doing it because everyone else is doing it. And it's like, oh, well, is there any reason that you in particular thought this might be good? Have you done exercise classes before that you did like? Getting some feedback, because there's no reason I can't add some stuff in that she likes. Because sometimes with people like this, it's the classic, like, hurt people. Like, sometimes with people like this, they just want to be seen. They just want to have someone acknowledge them. And maybe even having that phone call would have been enough, and I wouldn't have had to change anything with the classes. But simply asking her, letting her know, hey, I see you, that, would have improved or built a bit of rapport, that I could have stirred her up, used a bit of Australian humour when she started acting out or saying stuff like, go along with it. She's like, oh, this is the worst. Oh, this is the worst. Just like making it fun, and then bringing the mood up for everyone else, making it okay for everyone else to kind of be a bit silly about it and have a laugh. So yeah, that's one way, and that's probably the first thing I'd try is like, and I'm not saying that's easy. I could probably have to psych myself up to have that conversation. But yeah, I'd have that conversation. If she wasn't willing to talk to me outside of class, then we might be thinking, okay, like, here's your money for the remaining classes. Like, I'm going to ask you to stop coming. And obviously that's easier said than done too. But hey, I lost 7 clients because of this one client. There might have been other reasons, but I'm assuming I lost 7 clients because of this one client. So you're running a business. If you've got someone coming and damaging your business, you are within your rights to ask them to stop coming. The other thing I could have done is spoke to the rest of the group without her there. So I could have said, hey, with the rest of the group, like, how are you, everyone feeling about this client? Like, do you, like, I know she seems to really struggle. Let's talk about it nicely. We don't be like, hey, she hates the classes and she's dragging everyone's mood down. I get it. Maybe that's your personality where you'd be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd be like, I'd have to, wrap it up in a pretty bow and say, hey, it seems like she struggles with the classes. Is everyone else okay? Like, is it bothering? And then if someone spoke up at that, if they're all like, yeah, it's fine, at least I've addressed it and they know I'm aware. And maybe even saying, hey, I've spoken to her, or I'm going to speak to her one-on-one. And it's not about starting like a gossip session about this person. It's just about just letting, again, the rest of the clients know, hey, I see what's happening. I see that it's a bit of a mood killer. And I just want to check in with all of you guys that you're going all right. Yeah. So that's the other way I would have dealt with it. And that way did work with another client I had. I had a client, big guy, ran his own business and would often, he would come to our 6 a.m. classes, but he would often have been working all night and come to our 6 a.m. classes without any sleep. And and at the time I was like, I suspected it, but now looking back, it's like, yeah, definitely. Like, there were things, and I'm not sure about the legality around this, so he seemed like maybe he was taking more than caffeine to stay awake, if I put it nicely. And I don't want to share too much because I don't want to be like, if there's like an ex-client listening to this or something like that. But anyway, but he would come then to the sessions like very high strung. And during this time, he even had, like, outside of class, had a heart episode. So I was very conscious of that. He was coming to class. There was a couple of nights a week he wasn't sleeping. And he was very, like, whatever he was taking to stay awake, and then, like, just cortisol and stuff like that because his body was going through a lot. And if we were doing boxing or something like that, like, with boxing, we mix it up. We'd get different partners, and I'm always like, you've got to adjust your punches to the pad holder. Like if you're with someone who's not very strong, you've got to do like focus maybe more on speed and softer punches, not following through as much. But he would be so agitated that he would just... And the good thing is he was very personable. He got along with everyone in the class. So he already had a lot of goodwill and rapport in the class. But I know particularly with boxing, I had quite a few clients come up to me and say, hey, I can't be with him when box because like my arms are going to get knocked off because he's just going way too hard, like especially doing like hooks and things like that. And then I was aware, and then I'd watch these clients sort of like cowering behind their pads. And so I started off by speaking to him. I said, hey, look, can you make sure you ease back? But I guess just the mind space he was in when he was coming to class like that, he wasn't able to do that. So I started pairing him up with some of the other stronger guys in the class. And I spoke to them and I said, hey, look, I'm going to have you pair up with this client and you just let me know like if it's an issue. And then I think, they ended up enjoying it because they felt like they could really, go hard as well with him. And yeah, but I had that conversation with the client and with some of the other clients who were impacted, and we were able to work out a solution. And it was one that as a trainer, like I debated, should I be sending this client home? Because, obviously like we would need to weigh up risk. Like, is this client a risk to his own health and to those around him? Ultimately, mainly because of the rapport he'd built in the class with the other clients. I think if he was being overly aggressive with other clients, I would have said, no, you got to go home. But I kept checking in with him. We would talk regularly, and it was a particularly challenging time in his life. And I met his wife at one of the other things and spoke to her. And ultimately, it was myself and I had an assistant trainer, and we were just aware, and we just monitored him and managed him in the class. And we decided that it was a good thing for him to be there. And sometimes he didn't make it. Sometimes I think he knew it was no good and he wouldn't make it. But we would kind of see how he was doing in the morning and then try and manage that with the other clients. And like I said, never aggressive, never anything like that, but just obviously in a headspace where he didn't understand his own limitations and was pushing himself really hard. So that's another client. And hopefully with the internet, this never comes out. But yeah, this is something that I wanted to share with you. Like, both of these stories are difficult because they were difficult situations to manage. And I handled each one differently. And I really just wanted to share this as an idea for you of what maybe you could do. And also to encourage you, as the show is about warming up, like maybe this will warm you up and get you in the headspace to be able to manage a client or talk to a client or talk to your class about a client who's being disruptive. And before I go, I want to talk about one more type of client so that can be disruptive to your class. And this is the long-term client. This is a client who may have been training with you since you've started. And this is the client who refers to your classes as their classes. My class, I go to my class. This is my class. The times that they go to are their class. And they start taking possession of what you do. They're also the type of client who, when you change something up, they're like, oh, I didn't like that. They'll quickly tell you, which is nice. They're giving you feedback. But what can happen, and usually it's not just one long-term client, it's usually like 2 or 3 or even more, they start to dictate what your business should be. So they've decided what you offer is what they love. They want it to stay the same. They don't want change. And they're going to tell you about it if you do try and change things. They're going to tell you they don't like it. They're going to tell you they can't come to the class. I had one trainer who was losing money on a class because of these clients who were like, we want to be indoors. So they were spending money for an indoor space that was costing more than what they were making from the class because the other thing that often happens is these groups of clients who've been around for a long time is often without meaning to, they can become a bit cliquey. They can become a bit of a clique. So someone else joins the class and, feels like they're doing their class. They feel like, oh, I'm in these other clients' class. I'm just like the outsider. So that's another type of client you need to be wary of, because they're positive, they're great supporters of you. But if you notice that you're starting to make decisions on your business, your classes, that are based on a small group of clients, rather than the vision of what you actually want to create from your business, that's a bit of a warning sign. That's a bit of a sign that, oh, maybe I need to have a bit of a chat to these clients. And which might just be like, hey, I'm going to be trying some new stuff. We're going to do it for a month. And then at the end of the month, you let me know what you think. I want you to hold off any feedback or like reservations that you have, and let's try it for a month or 3 months or something like that. So that's my recommendation with those types of clients, because they also can be business killers. They'll take over a class, dictate what everyone's doing. And the only way I've seen trainers get out of this, and I've seen multiple trainers get stuck in this, including some trainers really close to me, is you just have to make the changes. There's no way to keep those clients happy in the way that they think they're going to be happy and grow the class. You're going to have to change. They're going to have to get out of their comfort zone along with you and change. So that's it for today's episode. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, it might not be for everyone. You might be like, oh, I've never experienced this before. I've got amazing clients. But if you're one of the few people out there who's like, oh, I've experienced something similar, I hope this is really helpful. And I will see you on the next episode of The Warm Up. Have a great week.